Welcome to Fundraising is Funny. I'm Lynn Wester.
And I'm Clay Buck.
Join us to share in laughter and stories as we take a lighthearted look at the profession that we love so much, fundraising.
Because sometimes we just have to laugh at ourselves.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. Take a moment, take a listen. Hey, this could even be called self-care.
Bring your favorite beverage and a yummy snack.
In reality, we're here to deliver on our promise. We're going to make you laugh or cringe. And if you learn something too, bonus.
See, we're serious fundraisers. We believe in this work, but we also know we do some really ridiculous things all in the name of raising a dollar. Maybe if we laugh at and with them and at ourselves, we can bring a little joy to everybody in our sector.
Now, don't worry. In that pursuit of joy, we won't name names, but the stories we share are 100% real life in the world of nonprofit fundraising.
Because, come on, fundraising is funny. The lip glossy is my favorite part of every start.
But I almost missed it. Hold, please.
You did. Oh, it's great. It's so great.
NARS in orgasm.
I've said this before. That's my next job.
Dolce Vita.
I want to be the guy that names paint colors and street names in subdivisions.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, like you pick a noun, you pick a verb, you pick an adjective. It's like Mad Libs, but you know.
My Shannon lives on Downton Abbey Lane.
No.
She does.
No.
She does.
There's literally okay.
In College Station, Texas.
That doesn't be surprised. Well, I think you might have just shared a whole lot of PII. Like people are now looking at. No,
you don't know what number.
True. Fair. So we promised funny, Lynn.
I live on Snooze Lane.
Do you really? Yeah, you do actually.
Do.
Yeah.
We promised funny?
We promised funny. That's the name of the podcast. Fundraising is funny.
I have it on a t-shirt.
And this one, we have gone round and round and round on trying to find the funny story that is funny. One of the phrases.
Why is that? Because we always have to start with a funny story.
Because we always have to say that's what we set up.
Predictable at best.
What a predictable. But that's what we've done, and that's what we always talk about. We always find a good story. We promise people will laugh. We can't find a funny story about this. Like we even had ChatGPT try to write jokes. It was terrible.
ChatGPT is not funny.
No, ChatGPT is not funny. Not
at all.
No.
No. The antithesis of funny.
The antithesis of funny. So
not sad though.
No, but
that would be joy.
So we should tell the story so people know what we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Oh, there's a story. Oh, So recently, in recent history, there was a report released based on an academic study that was done that was published in a journal, a peer-reviewed journal called Psychology...
Something.
So, why am I tapping the screen?
I don't know.
I tapped your screen like it was a touch screen, and you're over there chewing gum and messing with your mouse. And I'm like...
I just don't know what you're doing.
It's called the Journal Psychological Science. Uh-huh. And of course, a PhD student studied some psychology behind giving.
Mm-hmm.
And out comes this study, and I had read it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Then I read the actual study and realized that the study... What's funny about it to me is that we're making large, sweeping generalizations and assumptions based on one story, one study that did one test with one audience with one variable with not even a significant outcome.
And so now this is what we do. This is what science tells us, right?
I mean, I'm ready to drink bleach at this point. Bad political joke, not a political joke.
Yep.
All this to say, so the study says that if you give donors incentives or gifts, they're more likely to give. That's the really bad headline.
The hypothesis.
No, that's the headline that people extracted from the abstract of the article, right? Small tokens of appreciation can motivate lapsed, uncommitted donors, study finds.
Okay.
I don't know about you all, but how many of people in this industry are worried about lapsed, uncommitted donors? So people who have lapsed who really don't care about our cause. Is that your target demo?
I will target lapsed donors over acquisition any day of the week.
Okay, because you've got a 6% chance, and with acquisition, you got like a 2% chance.
Depending on certain variables, et cetera.
But they're lapsed,
blah, blah, blah.
and they don't like you.
But how do you define uncommitted? Is it length of giving? Is it number of gifts? I
don't even think these people knew.
Okay.
So they did one study,
mm-hmm.
and what they did is they sent seed packets. I'm not making this up. Like seed, not like certain legal in certain states kind of seeds. I'm assuming it's some sort of wildflower or plant. Yes. I mean, now if you would have wanted to charm my father's heart, it would have been green onions. He likes to take them out of the ground, wash them off, and eat them.
I have done seed campaigns where you include either a seed packet or you include the paper that has seeds in it.
I like a plantable paper.
Right, exactly.
Right? I did that for invitations for a spring event once.
Yep, have done those. They're lovely.
Right. But donors would have asked if they'd be willing to give to a charity, but they weren't actually asked to donate money.
Okay. Wait, what?
So would you be willing to give to charity if you got the seeds, but not will you actually give right now?
Uh-huh. And so what, like half got the seeds and half didn't?
Yes.
Okay.
And there was, the reply out of 20-something thousand people was 100 people.
Okay.
And the 100 and some odd people made gifts without the seed packets, and 100 and some odd people made gifts with the seed packets.
Okay.
And they were like, well, people made gifts because of the seed packets.
Okay.
Yeah. So it says they mailed a postcard. Everyone who received the postcard was a previous donor. The postcard said on the front, one seed leads to another. Your generosity plants the seed that allows our to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for growing with us. Half received just the postcard, while the rest received the card plus a packet of seeds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the way they figured out whether they liked you or not was whether you had donated consecutively in the previous 2 years or not.
Okay.
So were you loyal or not?
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years is all.
All right.
So they determined that the lapsed donors were 88% more likely to donate when they got the seed packet than when they got just the postcard, and that the seeds had no effect on loyal donors at all, because loyal donors are loyal donors. But they said it's 88% more likely to donate when they receive the seed packet.
But
the N, like the actual number that made the 88% more likely, is like 14 people.
I'm still fixated on the 2 years, right?
Yeah.
That we're looking at it from as 2 years consecutively.
They say cared about the organization.
Right.
And people who hadn't given in over 2 years don't care about the organization. So a fallacy to start with.
Well, right. And there's no indication of if the people who had not given in 2 years, how many years before that they had given before they lapsed, or any number of things. And were these okay. All right.
There's so much wrong with this. But what we're facing now is articles that say if you give a donor a tchotchke or a lapsed donor a tchotchke, they're coming back. And like one of my clients who I love to death got this article forwarded to her by her big boss, which, big boss, and said, no comment, just forwarded it to her because she rails against giving donors token items because we know that most donors stop their giving or reduce their giving when we give them token items, unless they were acquired that way, like PBS and radio and things like that. These are university donors, right? So now we have this study, and it says the seeds have no significant effect on the loyal donors, but they're 88% more likely to donate when they receive the seed packet if they're a lapsed donor. But it's one study with one population with one methodology to test it. Like, it's so
Do you remember the
wrong.
study a few years ago? And this was huge, right? This was huge. Thank you calls have no effect on donors, right? And people started citing this as law. They've done this test. They've done the study that thank you calls have no effect on donor retention. And then when they dug into the study, what they found was the test was done 6 months after the gift.
A little too late.
To low and mid-level donors, to a very particular niched audience that is membership based.
Well, that's different.
Well, precisely. And it was done once, and it was done with, and this sweeping. Okay, here's the thing. I mean, do you remember back in the day?
I do.
I tell way too many stories about when I started in fundraising.
Get off my lawn.
When I started in fundraising, if you wanted to have data to support what you did, or were trying to make a decision about how you approached your campaign, you called on the phone that was attached to a line that hooked into the wall.
Yes.
You called on the phone the National Society for Fundraising Executives, and you, if he picked up the phone, you got to speak to him. If not, you left him a voicemail, and you told Reed what you needed, and Reed would go and research it, and then a few weeks later would send you a photocopy of any research that he had found.
Yeah.
Right? We have, and Reed is wonderful and still in touch with today and still very active, and and that was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal help at the time. We have more information today. We literally, studies are coming out every single day, this and that and this proving and this and proving that.
Nobody's vetting the studies and showing where they're coming from, and
Boom.
nobody's thinking deeply about what that study can mean for organizations. And as I think deeply about this, my head hurts and my tummy rumbles, which means
we should do some research on best snacks, the snacks that have the most effect on
my positive outlook.
Rumbly tummies.
It could be root beer.
Okay.
Or a milkshake, or some.
That's like the third time you've mentioned milkshakes today. I think maybe.
I haven't had a milkshake since the last time we had a milkshake. So,
really?
Yeah. It's not a thing I go.
Any hoozles.
Let's get a snack and then
break.
We'll come back.
So I did a study over the break.
Yes.
On the effects of, I don't know.
Lip gloss on my lips.
Please don't ever make that noise again. I think one of the things that you and I probably, and we don't disagree on much, but I think the area where we have the most disagreements is our perspective on things from the different
spheres,
that we work in.
Verticals within nonprofit.
And I've done plenty of higher ed, plenty of healthcare, but I tend to focus more on smaller and mid-sized.
And I deal with the wallopers,
right?
The big, massive machines.
It is so. I'm going to say it. It's wrong in our profession to paint with such a wide brush to say this works in every situation. There's
nothing I know of that works in every situation.
Oh, there is.
Other than gratitude.
Other than gratitude, that's exactly what I was going to say. telling really good stories and gratitude. Approaching it with gratitude. I mean,
but the way you do it can be 8,000 different ways. It's
100%.
Interesting because I think a lot of the time, so I quote a lot of facts from the Lilly School of Philanthropy at the University of Indiana, even though my mother is a Purdue graduate and that hurts her soul every time
Boilermakers.
I do it. Yes, she's boiler up. Go Purdue. Hail Purdue, she says.
Why is that campus so gray? Anyway, every time I've been to that campus, it's just gray.
I don't know. I'll ask her.
Great school.
Yeah. So I think that I quote them because I know that those studies are done well and that they don't have a bias in terms of, I get quoted a lot back to me studies, quote unquote, or data that are paid for by a vendor, and then the study benefits the vendor.
And only uses the vendor's product.
Correct. I'll give you a classic one that is not true in higher education direct mail fundraising. The longer the letter, the more money you raise. So in higher education fundraising, direct mail, that's not true. In nonprofit packet or acquisition mailings, that might be true. But I'm not going to take that source from the Direct Marketing Association vendors.
I'm going to take it from the DMA because DMA does do
the vendor themselves, the guy who prints the letters. I'm not taking it from
now. But let's also, once again, thank our great sponsors that do tremendous work. The studies I know that our sponsors have done that we do work with were done independently.
Like the Fundraising Effectiveness Project.
Correct. Right.
Love.
Yes,
and I quote that and cite it. Our friends at Bloomerang are part of it.
I quote Bloomerang's study on phones
all the time.
Relentlessly. Bloomerang's not a phone company.
Correct.
Like
I quote Penelope Burke's Cygnus Donor research studies.
religiously.
Constantly, because they're actually asking donors.
I'll tell you the other one that I don't that I don't listen to. Once something says this was a survey of X type of person, I don't care how wide the survey is. I don't care how big the survey is. What someone's opinion of what they might do is not an indicator to me of trends in the sector.
Well, and that's what
76% of fundraisers say they're going to invest in more digital marketing.
No,
okay, well, good for you.
Well, it's so interesting you say that. So I want to circle back to this study and then tell you about surveys in my own experience as running a business.
Right.
So this survey was done for a psychological science. So I'm assuming it was done for a psychology program but it was not done for a fundraising program. And this person does not work in fundraising, the PhD student who conducted it. But they're wading into our pond. And yes, there is psychology behind fundraising, of course. But you're taking one psychological principle and now applying it to a massive
one of the things
based on one study with one population at one university.
Right. One of the things that the study references frequently is pro-social behavior.
Yes.
Right. Which generosity is often associated with pro-social behavior. The experts on this, on pro-social behavior, the psychological Doctors Jen Shang and Adrian Sargent, Institute for Sustainable Philanthropy, their whole course in philanthropic psychology is built around love, which is wonderful, and pro-social behavior and what pro-social behavior looks like. So, you know, we do know that pro-social behavior, as it is called, does have an effect on generosity, giving, et cetera, blah, 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 right? But then I think we get a lot. There's a lot of these running around, right? There's a lot of stuff out there that it says this is the way it's done. I was in a meeting not too long ago. You heard this. And the presenters asked the audience to share, just to call out best practice, right? Fundraising best practice. Tell us, one fundraising best practice, and then we'll dissect it and look at it together. It's a terrific session. But like the first three that people called out were not best practice. Like the things they called out, I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
Or at least not what I understand or know best practice to be, and in some cases have actual data on, right?
Well, it's just like the Giving USA report came out and everybody was Chicken Little all of a sudden talking about the giving is declining, and that particular measure of that particular way of looking at giving, yes, there was a statistical decline in it, but it doesn't mean that donors have stopped giving and that people aren't generous. It's maybe giving to institutions is declining.
That's just it. That's
giving
it. Exactly.
Traceable methods might be declining. Does it factor in donor advised funds? Is it factoring in GoFundMe?
It does factor DAFs, but it doesn't factor GoFundMe.
Is it factoring in non-501c3 here in America organizations? Because I have not noticed people stopping to care about each other, right? I think people are still caring about it. We can look. Isn't that great quote about data and statistics? You can get data to tell you anything, or you can get a
torture the data long enough, it'll tell you anything you want. Yeah,
torture's not.
But that's the quote. I mean, that's I forget who said it, but is the
what
quote.
I want to make sure of is that before we jump to a conclusion, and before our periodicals put a headline out there that says, and I'm going to hold them accountable, that says that you need to give a token gift to people who aren't loyal donors. No, I mean, I remember reading an article, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, pre-COVID, that said socks were the new, and I'm like, we do not need to be giving socks to donors. I
have done sock campaigns. And they're tremendously successful.
Right, but not for everyone.
In certain situations, in certain approaches, and require frequent and regular A/B testing in direct response.
Do you want to hear the worst sock campaign I've ever heard of?
Tell me.
And again, Clay and I might disagree on this one, but this is my opinion. So they mailed a left sock with the pledge reminder that the person had made.
No.
And said, if you want the right sock, you have to pay your pledge.
No.
And so I was just freaked out. This is a major university. That is how they thought they were going to collect on their unpaid pledges that year. They were going to hold the right sock ransom.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of, I don't even know. I can't.
So
I just can't. The interesting thing is, and the other thing that's flummoxing Lynn and I right now is, for some reason, one of my AI devices has also decided to pipe into this conversation in the background.
She's very involved.
And when should I remind you? And we're like, okay,
don't remind me about my left sock.
Don't remind me.
Right, it's gone. But I never asked them whether the left sock. The right sock being held ransom. Like, what if it was my mom and you held the left sock ransom, she'd be upset because she's left-handed and left-footed.
Right.
Me, I'm like, I don't wear socks. I live on an island. I try not to wear shoes. So, but I mean, that gimmick, we talked about gimmicks before, but I mean, seriously. So I think we need to be careful when we look at data. We need to be careful when we read headlines that say one thing and then you dig in. But most of us, so I was talking with my friend Ashley Budd today, and I love her. She's an email expert, and the question is always, how long should your emails be and mass comms and everything? And she's
165 words or less.
That's your opinion.
Sorry. Well, that's actually my tested proof, but yeah.
Yes. And you've got less than 8 seconds, and in all reality, you have about 2 seconds.
Right. Exactly.
Yet I regularly receive emails from nonprofit organizations that are 9 scrolls, 9 screens on my phone.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm not even giving my mom 9 screens. Mom, you got 2 screens. Let's go. Chop, chop. Right? Like, and I love her to death, but like, I don't have 9 screens for you or for anyone. And yet I still receive emails from nonprofits. Here's one. 1, 2, 3 screens.
That was 3 scrolls before you even got to the button.
The call to action.
Right.
Call to action.
So the point, and the point there is, there are studies on this, right? There are studies that have gone into this that are truly scientific, that are truly balanced, that have really measured things well. There are things that we know because of science behind it. And it is almost always situational, and but
I'm going to need you to test that more than once.
Right.
1 postcard with some seeds to one group at one time at one day ain't nothing.
Well, I mean,
to put it technically.
Right. And to say that, we're going to give a thing a tangible, it has no effect on it. So we shouldn't do sock campaigns because the seed, like it could have been the seeds. Like it could have been the packet itself. There's so many things that can go into it.
I might like seeds. I might not like socks.
Right.
I might need a lip gloss campaign. Nobody's ever given me a lip gloss campaign.
Lord in heaven, I do not need or want or have any desire for another tote bag. And yet there are very successful tote bag campaigns.
How about a hair clip?
I can't with hair clips.
It's an inside joke with Clay and I. One day you
find us in person. I will gladly tell you the hair clip story. I can't. I
don't need another tote bag.
If you got an organization from a mission that you cared about,
and it was a cool design,
and it had a tote bag in it, would that make you more? Well, but then again, see, I don't think fundraisers, especially consultants, especially those of us that do testing,
I'm not your target audience.
I don't think we should be saying I wouldn't respond. It's like a board saying I wouldn't respond. I'm not the target audience. I'm biased.
I am absolutely biased.
There's literally a stack of direct mail sitting right here in front of us.
Literally, I get my mail shipped to me every time I come to the United States because
Hi, Claybuck, shipping and receiving.
Claybuck is my shipping and receiving department, and I always get my mail shipped to me. And Clay is very nice so that I don't have to pay to get it shipped to the hotel. Clay receives it, and here are direct mail packets. And so we were digesting them and commenting on them and everything. And so, because we love a good sample, but all this to say, our opinion on this stuff,
we're biased, totally biased.
Because I'm like, oh, that's cool, and he's
Look
like,
at the data.
That's not going to work.
So and because you know what, and I've been saying this more and more. Fundraising is complicated and messy and confusing. You know why?
I love it.
You know why? Because humans are complicated and messy and confusing, right?
Yeah.
When we survey donors say to us, oh, the reason I give is because I believe in the cause. Well, talk to Cherry and Koshi about this, cherryandkoshi.com. Survey theory and survey function, right? In surveys, human beings tend to answer the survey the way we think they want it answered.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the story we tell ourselves. Well, of course I give because I care about the cause. The reality is people give for real.
People lie on surveys too.
I mean, for 100,000,001 reasons. So there's okay. So anyway, the punchline. What are we saying? Don't trust reports. Don't trust.
We're saying trust but verify, right? Know where the source of the information is coming from, just like you would anything. So say, for example, we released a survey that said, if you pay to listen to a podcast and about fundraising being funny twice a day, you'll have a better life.
Oh, that's true. I've tested that.
But of course you have. And of course we benefit from that.
So define better though.
I don't,
because I don't know, lately that's really not a high bar.
Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is your better and your better is your best.
Oh
Miss
my
Rita
gosh.
Kelly, my 8th grade English teacher.
Oh, bless.
But all this to say is, you can get data from a lot of sources, but make sure that it is applicable. Make sure that it's been through its paces. Make sure that if you're standing in front of somebody who does surveys and studies, you ask them, so what was your methodology? And why did you test this? And what was this hypothesis? Why this? Why now?
Right.
But don't just take things as straight up fact on the chin all the time, because if you forward that article to me and say, you told me that token gifts don't work, I'm going to forward you back the Yale study that says every time you give, and theirs is much more robust than this one seed packet story. So also for every, I feel like for every sometimes study you have, I have one that says the opposite.
Yeah, in some cases. Yeah.
But you know what's universal that we both agreed on? Generosity and gratitude.
So speaking of studies that were done, Giving Tuesday, the organization Giving Tuesday, did a worldwide global study. Worldwide global study. And if there is somebody that you can trust with data and statistics and numbers, it is Woodrow Rosenbaum, who is the chief information officer. He is a snappy dresser too. What that report said, and they're releasing updates to it every year, what that showed, it's called From Scarcity to Abundance. And when people are asked, something like 90, I want to say it's 88%. I could be wrong. I don't have it in front of me, but 88% of people, 90% of people when asked said, yes, I am generous.
Yeah.
So yes, giving to charities may be declining, but the population thinks they're being generous. So how are they giving? Right. It's being critical and being thoughtful. I'm not going to paint with a wide brush and say that everybody that produces a study is wrong, but those that consume it and look at it, check our bias, right? Check it from a critical viewpoint and then test it.
Love it. And you know what you can also test? Fundraisingisfunny.com. Send us a message, send us a hello, or send us a study or research you find fascinating. We'd love to hear from you.
Or one that really stands out as, oh my gosh.
This is bad.
Yep.
We're here for it.
You know what I'm critical about?
Ending on time?
And we blew that out of the water. No, I am critically... I'm blowing this. I was trying to wrap critically into critically caring about people that listen to the podcast. I just want to say fundraisers are awesome. You guys are doing great work. Keep doing the good job. And we love you. And we want to look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.